Welcome to The Inner Reboot with Sam and Heidi, your weekly pit stop to shake off the stress, laugh at life's plot twists and recharge your mindset. Because let's be honest, transformation doesn't have to be boring or involve 75 different types of smoothie.
So grab a drink, smoothies if you must, and join us for the wins, the fails and the awkward bits, because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs start with an inner reboot and occasionally forgetting why you even walked into the room.
Hello and Happy New Year.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year.
2026, I cannot believe how quickly the last year went. I know we will say that every year, don't we? Like, it flew past, but it really has.
It really
It's
has.
madness.
And when you think about what happened for us in
Yeah.
in the last year as well, particularly in the last few months. But yeah, it feels 2026 feels really weird.
In what way?
I don't know. Like it just feels like a big
Unknown?
number. Yeah, very unknown, very out of control.
Yeah.
I guess this is probably, actually, that's a really good point. It's probably the least certainty I've had at the start of a year ever.
Mm.
But I was going to say I feel okay about it, but given I do feel okay about it. But it's I've never started a year like this before. Like it's always
No.
like, oh, by now, going back to work, Sunday scaries, and sorting out the goals for work, etc. It's just different. Feels really different.
It does feel different, but it feels good. For me, I think it feels really good. And I'm glad that I'm not going back to
An office.
what I will call an office, but the monotony of the same role. And I know that sounds really brutal, and this is no disrespect to working in organisations or anything like that. This is my own personal opinion. I always used to feel a bit kind of weird, but never really knowing why I felt weird. Like, what is that weird, heavy feeling that I'm feeling? And I don't know. And I don't have it now. So it had to be something to do with what I was doing before. I can't pinpoint exactly what it was. But yeah, I feel a lot lighter going into this year, even though it's a bit petrifying, thinking actually, what are we doing, where we're going, how we're navigating. I feel lighter, like I'm not carrying weight with me into this year, which is great.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, I'm definitely not carrying the weight. I think I wonder what it is because there's so much more uncertainty. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the monotony of like, I guess when you go back to work in January, nothing has changed. So even when we talk about like personal things, like you can't change your life overnight and all of that stuff, that's fine. But you can start to make decisions about what you want your new year to look like or the next 12 months to look like. But actually, when you go back to work, you can't have that same freedom of, oh, actually, what do I want this year to look like to some extent? Because you've got stuff that you have to deliver. Sometimes you are really on board with it and other times you're really not on board with it. So then it's like, oh, okay, you can't get that same energy. Whereas I guess sitting down today, it's still like the routine's the same. I've still done school run, still then sat down on my desk, but it's a different, I don't know, it's kind of like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to focus on?
I think for me, as you were talking, it was almost not bound by the role or the objectives that you know that you've got to achieve and deliver. I think that's the difference, even though we have got objectives for ourselves and the business and everything. It's very different from owning a role and delivering, which kind of falls in line with our topic today, which is
goals. Indeed.
Yes, which is
goals, which are very much on my mind. And I knew as soon as we got to the first and second, my social media started ramping up with goals. I knew it was something we wanted to talk about. And it's something that has been on our long list of things to talk about at some point, goals in general, because we've got some thoughts and some feelings and reflections on them. But it would feel bonkers to not talk about it this week, in particular. And I think where I'm coming at it from is there's lots of noise about goals, rightly and wrongly. Goals really work for some people, they really don't work for other people. It's only been more recent when I've realised that they don't necessarily work for me in the same way they do for a lot of people, or in the same way as like it's easy to be like, what are your goals now and what are you focusing on? And I think there's a lot of unhelpful noise around it. Particularly in this period where it's like, oh, it's a new year, so now you've got to change your life dramatically. You've got to think of these really wild goals and ambitions. And I think it's really hard. Like I've really, really struggled to just ever be able to be like, what are my goals? I just think it's a really
Mm.
abstract thing to do.
Mm.
And I don't know, there's so many different ways I could go into it and chop into it. And there's lots of things that I think are worth us talking about. But in a really broad sense, I
Mm.
don't think goals and focusing on a number of goals in isolation is helpful.
No, and I think it's very broad. The word goal itself is really broad, and I don't think there's enough put on to what makes a goal. That's the difference, I
Mm.
suppose, is about saying, I've got a goal. Well, brilliant. What made the goal? Why are you there? Why do you have it? And I think that's the bit that isn't talked about enough. And when you work in a world where you might be set goals or expected to have goals as part of your role and part of what you do, that makes it even harder because you have to find something. And then if it's not that and they're personal goals, it's really actually, is it the right goal for you? And how did you get
Yes.
to the point of why you want that particular goal? And I think that's the bit that we don't dig into enough to understand, where does it come from? Why is this something I want to achieve? So therefore it's not defining what we want and how it sits with our values. And I think that's worth an explore as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because you end up not goals for the sake of it, but I think it's really easy to have standard goals. And even if you do the SMART thing, which has been around forever, and you make sure they're specific and measurable, it doesn't it doesn't take into consideration where you've been before, what's worked before, what hasn't worked before, what do you need, what do you not need, and importantly, doesn't take not only your values, but it doesn't help you articulate why do you even want to make that change. Like, what is going to look different in 3, 6, 12 months' time if you achieve those goals? What difference is that going to make to your life? Because if it's not going to make a difference to your life, then you're probably not going to stick to the goal.
Mm.
And then it also ignores the biggest thing, which is the planning around the goal. So,
Mm.
okay, great, I've got a goal. I want to, I don't know, run a marathon. Yeah, I want to run a marathon. I want to climb 4 mountains. I want to anything like that. Okay, well, how are you going to do it? And that's the bit where I've always got really stuck. And so I think
Mm.
I've been able to, I could think about the goal, but I don't really think about why it's important. And I certainly then haven't ever been able to go, shit, how do I actually make this happen? What difference is it going to make?
Mm. I think there's not there's something there about priorities, like defining your priorities, which is the bit that you talked about life. Like, what do you want out of life? And what does it mean to you? And how do you then prioritize that to start thinking, is it aligned to what motivates me? Because we all know that if the thing that you're doing doesn't motivate you, you won't
Mm,
achieve the goal anyway. So, actually, does it align with my motivations? Does it align with my values in terms of your life priorities? So, what you're doing. And then, how do you get to that point where you can go, okay, does that fit in with current reality and future reality? And actually, what would that feel like at the end of it? If all of that is in place, what does that then look like? It's almost that projected view of, that visualization piece of like, if I did this, what would life be like and what would it feel like?
mm,
And I think we don't put enough focus on that because there's so many more of those things that you need to do before you even think about something like SMART, for example. I
yeah.
know we've talked about that before, but it's almost that I feel like we've become accustomed to going, right, I need to set a goal. Oh, SMART is a good way to set a goal because then I can check that it's specific and it's measurable and it's achievable, etc. But what we don't do is the bit before it, which is it aligned to my values? Is it defined as part of my priority? And actually, what will it feel like when I do actually achieve it? We kind of almost skip that bit and jump straight to the get it on paper,
Yeah, make
make
this
sure it's
thing a
written
thing
down.
like a
Yeah,
reality that I can
yeah.
do. And I
Mm.
think it's also we forget about I much prefer. So I guess the learnings that I've made over the last year, and I have gone into this year not goals, but with intentions and ideas and thoughts about how I want my life to be different this year and what that looks like. And that hasn't come about because it's like, oh, it is because it's January, but because it's New Year, New Me, that's almost like the last 5 years of learning and faffing and wondering why I can't set goals and why I can't make a difference and in terms of or change, and why the years sort of bumble along is because throughout that process, I've been learning and I've been understanding and navigating what I do actually need. And so that stuff
Mm.
also gets really lost in it. So I've this year, I'm trying to take a bit more of an approach in terms of I want to be outside more, or I want to can't remember what any of them are now. I want to or for us, like we want to be clear on what we're known for and therefore and then be known for it. Or I want to be more financially stable. And so therefore that will lead to me having a budget and me understanding if I can bring any extra income in, if I can adapt any of my outgoings and all of that stuff. But it's because I'm clear on why I'm doing it. Whereas before I would have
Yeah.
gone, right, well, I need to budget better. Okay, but
Yeah.
for what benefit and for what purpose? And that's why that
Yeah.
never really worked.
Mm.
Um, but I also have learnt lots in terms of what I need. So I need things, I do have to have a really clear, I have to get to the point of having a really clear goal or a really clear action or outcome. There has to be a level of urgency. I have to have accountability because if I don't, then I won't do it. And I also, things have to be really broken down step by step because if not,
Mm.
it feels too big, too overwhelming, and I can't ever get there. So they're like such big, important factors that I've just never considered
Mm.
or had before that will hopefully change my approach to goals. I don't even
I
yeah.
don't like the word goals anyway. I think it's I don't even know why I don't like it. I just think
No, I know. I
it's,
think it's probably just because it's overused, isn't it? Like
it,
it's become such a
yeah.
term for so many things, like, because I think there's really meaningful stuff and really meaningful goals to us individually, but it also sort of gets wrapped up in the narrative around at work and the narrative around like the goals we should be doing and we should be reaching. And it's sort of become the catch-all term and
Mhm.
therefore it's less meaningful.
Yeah, it does. I definitely think my weirdness where it does come from the workplace for so many years is like every year you have to have a goal. What's really interesting is I remember years and years ago, every year you go through that, what are your objectives, set your goals because it will help you achieve your objectives, etc. It felt so uniformed that there
Mm.
wasn't even a way for me to figure out how do I do this in line with what motivates me. So it almost went against what I like doing. So we talk a lot about strengths and why this using your strengths give you energy, and then the other ones of like why things become energy drainers. It's the same thing. It's almost like I don't think my goals were particularly aligned to my strengths, so therefore it was actually probably draining my energy trying to achieve them rather than using my strengths, which of course feeds from my motivation, I probably would have achieved a lot more. But I think it's almost that I think that they for me they feel like more like mini missions, and I think it's that bit around
Yeah.
accountability. In my head, I'm like, if I tell somebody that I'm going to do a thing, I've then made myself accountable and they can hold me accountable, which is why I look at them as mini missions. Like I have to complete that bit to get to the
To
next
the
bit.
next bit.
So yeah, it's almost a bit like gamification. You know, I've got to pass level 1 to get to level 2 and et cetera, et cetera. But it definitely works. I think you're doing bingo. Um,
Yes. So on to like there's a few trends that are knocking about. So
yes, yeah.
the bingo trend.
I love that.
Um Yeah, let's go into the trends because I think there's some of them that are really, really helpful actually this year. And whilst it felt really noisy online and sort of it did really feel like, come on, we've all now got to do this thing to revolutionize our lives. There were some things that were helpful. And I think just what you were saying in terms of like the work, let me just backwards step a little bit.
Mm.
The work thing in terms of, I love the mini missions. I'm just going to call them that from now on, missions. I'm going to find a really fun name. Like a certain mission. We could have like different types of missions. It'd be very
We could.
exciting. but it's also they sort of at work for me, they've always felt one and done, and it's always felt very, like we're gonna set them and then that's it. Like, off you go, and we're not gonna review them until the end of the year, and if everything's changed in our environment and you haven't hit them, well, tough shit. Like, all of that stuff. Like, I don't think we are encouraged to have healthy habits around goals and achieving them and reflecting on them and checking back in with them in the workplace. I think that bit is still a huge, massive gap. Um, but one thing that's made it more fun, I think this is the thing with the trends this year, it's made it a little bit more fun for me and it's made it more accessible to me, I think, because it's unlocked the creative part of my brain, which is my strength. And so therefore that makes it easier. We know that. So the bingo one, I absolutely love. So you can basically you create your own bingo card. Mine's, I think, got 16 squares, 4 by 4, I think mine is. But I've seen some where they're literally like 25 or 30, um, which is a lot of things. I've populated mine with things from like a really big business goal that we've got, but then also with some smaller things like go on a camping trip and having a date night. And what was the other things I put on there? There was like a real mix between
Mm.
what is a 12-month goal, but then also the things that you will do naturally throughout the year. So you feel like you're able to tick them off throughout the year as well, so that they don't feel unachievable. But some of them will take time. Oh, that's it. Like one of them was like read 20 books. So that's me wanting to spend more time reading rather than
Mm.
scrolling. And so rather than just putting, I'm not going to scroll as much, flipping that into something really specific for the reading 20 books. So that's my bingo card. So I'd encourage you all to find, basically it's all over Instagram, TikTok probably.
I love that. I think it's
Um,
brilliant. Definitely need to do one. And I think something that you said, which is really important actually, is about it not being scroll less. Replace it with read more.
yeah.
It's almost you're replacing one habit with another, which is much easier to break the habit that you're trying to get away from when you've replaced it with another one.
Well,
And
and
I
you're
think
replacing it with
it's
something that's really something you want to do anyway. Like
yeah, yeah.
you're not punishing yourself.
No, because there's that creating that new habit has a reward at the end of it, which is why it then becomes a habit because
Yeah.
we're designed to want to crave that reward. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. It's so much harder thinking about New Year's resolutions and people go, I'm going to stop smoking or, I'm going to, I don't know, climb Mount Everest or whatever. Um, it's very difficult, especially the habit breaking ones, I
Mm,
find are much harder because you're stopping something that you're currently is habitual behavior that you like the reward of, but you're not swapping it for something else. It's almost like
yeah.
you have
You're
to
just
go
stopping
cold
something.
turkey on the habit. And I think that's much, much harder. So I like the idea of like swapping it, of not saying, I'm not going to do this. I'm actually going to commit to doing this thing instead, which will give you gratification anyway.
Yeah. And I
Mm.
think it's also one thing as you was talking around like the replacing it and the positive elements of that. I've always struggled to do the things of like, I don't know, save X amount of money or um, earn X amount more money because it's like, where the fucking hell do you pick these numbers from? That's what I've never understood. Like, people, like, if there's things like that, or it's like, I want to, I don't know, like, walk X amount of miles in a month. Like, what? And that obviously does work for some people, but it's always been something that's really hard for me. And so, therefore, turning it into more habits or something that has a bit more flexibility as well,
Mm.
and means that actually, if I look at my bingo board, most months I can either tick something off or I can tick off part of it. So I
Mhm.
can read a book in a month. So like you always feel like you're nudging towards it. And I think visibility of that is going to be really helpful. So I'm going to make mine look pretty and I'm going to put it above my desk because then it also becomes like the thing that you look at most.
It's there all the time.
And then
Yeah.
you can like check in with it. Make sure you're spending your time in ways that are going to help you achieve your bingo board.
Mhm.
And I think that's the other thing. If we're looking at black and white goals, sometimes it can be quite hard to make sure we're spending our time in the right areas. Whereas if
Yeah.
it's something that's a bit more gamified, a bit more exciting, a bit more personally interesting, then that will help.
I think that's the key. It's almost it's not just finding out what motivates you, but it's also identifying how you like to do things, like how
Yeah.
you would go about it. So a friend of mine who probably will listen to this and she will know that I'm talking about her is going to a wedding next year and she needs to save for said wedding. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to get a money wallet."
Mhm.
So you know the long money wallets,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
just put them in, and you put a certain amount in, and it gives you X amount after a certain amount of time. It's such a good way of doing it because it's a doing thing. It's not just
Yes.
going, "I'm going to set up a direct debit to transfer 50 quid every month from that account to that account,"
That
because
I can
it's
then
not.
move back again if I want to.
Yeah, yeah, but almost you're not part of it. It's going
Yeah.
on in the background. You've just made a pledge for a number. Whereas with the money wallet thing, I'm like, she's actually interacting with it and physically putting the money in and seeing it there. So I think it's almost that piece of find out what you like to do, because I think it will
Yeah.
make a
That'll
difference
help.
to how you achieve it. If you're a doer,
Whereas
if you're creative, think of something like you've got the bingo board. I think it's a genius idea. Where some people might be quite analytical and maybe tracking it on something on a spreadsheet might be a way, but it's almost find out again what motivates you. I think is
this
really
goes back to the
important.
previous episode, doesn't
Mm,
it? Like in terms of like how much time and effort do we actually put into understanding us?
yeah,
Because all of this, anything, not just goals, but achieving or doing anything is so much harder if you don't understand that.
yeah.
And this is the only reason it's been so much easier for me this year.
Mm.
I mean, let's come back to it in December and see how many of the things I've achieved and whether it's made a difference. But it feels, I guess it's instantly I feel motivated, and that's what makes the difference. Um, the other thing, so the other trend, the other thing with the bingo card and the other one, the inspiration board, which I
Mm.
also think is a really cool idea, but I have some caveats. Um, is I've seen a lot of people like doing them with a drink with their friends, like having like a girly night. Obviously,
Right.
men can do this too, I'm sure. But like treating it like a girls' night, and they're all getting
Yeah.
together and they're creating them together, which I think is a really fun, cool
That's a
idea.
really good idea. And that,
Um,
again, is that accountability piece, isn't it? Because you're doing
yeah,
it together. You're all a view of what everybody's trying to achieve. And actually, maybe there's some commonalities there of people may want to achieve similar things to you, but then that creates momentum because you can do
and
it together, which is
accountability,
great. Yeah.
and yeah, like there's
So
so
good.
many
I
benefits I
love that
think to that.
idea.
So the inspiration board I also really love. I haven't done mine yet because I really need to go and buy a couple of magazines, or something, because I don't want to just like hunt down images, because I'm not very good. I have to see something or feel it or understand. Like I have to have something come to me that then I can go, oh yeah, that's the thing. So I have to like
Okay.
almost see it first, rather than I can't sit here and be like, I want these 10 things on my inspiration board.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So I can't then go and like hunt
Yeah.
down the pictures.
You look
So
for the
anyway,
inspiration and then find it
yeah,
that way. Yeah. Got you.
yeah. So but anyway, it's a similar sort of, it's not similar to the bingo. Well, I guess it could be. It's a biggish. I'm going to do mine on like A3, I think. Get a bit of
Yeah.
card, and then it's almost like a collage, or like you can just do it with words, however you want creatively. But it's an idea where you capture the things that you are inspired by that you'd like to achieve this year. So it's almost it can then lead on to goals and action plans and bingo boards, but it's almost like that bigger picture stuff. It's that dreaming big. So if you look on social media, there's like a lot of the people on there, they will have things like grow account to X number, or
Hmm.
um, be more in nature, or like so many different things. Um, have more mindful breaks, or feel more mentally well,
Hmm.
or a holiday of a lifetime might be on there because you might sort of roughly know it's coming up this year or whatever. Like I know that we didn't go camping at all last year, and that I really missed it. So camping will
Hmm.
feature quite heavily. Our business will feature quite heavily on my inspiration board. Our family time will feature, like, so there's
Hmm.
these things, but not like a picture of our business and not a picture of my family. It's like the
Yeah.
things that are, I don't know, that just make it look nice and inspiring. And you can put words on there and stuff. And so then again, that can be something that you can check in with. Because I think the
Mm.
other thing is we quite often will create goals, we can write them down, and we can create a tracker for them if we want to, and all of that stuff. But they're not as, I'm a real visual person. So then I don't see them, they're not visual. And it's not
Mm.
like something I look at every day.
I think that's the bit where I feel like I possibly go wrong. So I use Pinterest a lot and I've got loads of different boards on Pinterest, which I love, and I'm always on there. But the problem is it takes me to go in, open the app and have a look.
Yeah.
It's not me walking past it or it being on the wall while I'm working. It's not, it's very different. So I think something like that is, and for me, it's the inspiration board almost feels like it's like you said, it's not the goal, it's the inspiration for the goal, but it
Mm.
almost should be the thing that makes you feel good. It gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling of like an energizing feeling of like, that's why I'm doing this. So the
It's like your
board is almost
purpose. It's
the
like
reason for
your,
doing it. Yeah, which I think is great. I
and I
feel like
think
you need an inspiration board and a bingo board.
definitely. And then
Mm.
I think that the other thing,
You're going to have no
and
wall space left in the
no, this one's really easy because this is going to go on to my inspiration board. I've seen
end.
some other people, I think this is more coaches that have been doing this, which is like word of the year. So my
Oh,
word of the
okay.
year is intentional. So like, I'm going to be more intentional about everything in my life, basically, or try to be. I'm not, no, I am. I'm going to be more intentional. So I have already started making space for reflecting. I have already started intentionally thinking about what works for me and what doesn't work for me and what I'm going to do
Mhm.
and not going to do. Um, I think I'm going to intentionally let journaling go. Like, I think that
Yeah.
we've tried that again, even since the last episode. um, and maybe I just don't need that in my life. But yeah, so I think a word of the year is a really interesting concept.
I
It's like
can't
quite
think of a
grounding.
I know what I want to do, but I can't think of the word. It's like outwardly thinking. Like I'm not very good at like I'll think of things and have really good ideas, but I don't voice them as much as I feel like I
You
should.
don't vomit them like I do.
So, no. I'm too busy picking up yours and trying to make sense of it. Actually, just keep vomiting words and then maybe I'll pick one up and that will be my word of the year. I'll find what I'm looking for.
But
But
I
it's
think
like,
outwardly thinking
is it,
is like it can be two words, I'm sure. I'm
yeah, I
sure there's no
think
rules.
it's something like there's probably a much better word that explains it, but it's that whole thing of stop being reserved and frightened to just
Yeah.
come out with what I'm thinking, an idea, creativity, whatever. That would be my thing for this year, I think, of if I'm going to try and align to something in terms of more of in a positive behavioral way, that's what it would be.
Yeah, that's really
I
interesting.
think.
And it's something we talked about earlier, wasn't it? Like just in
Mm,
terms of finding our voices, having our voice.
mm,
And I find it really weird because I think having a voice in terms of through the podcast, I found really easy. Um, but finding and having a voice in other ways through social media, I think is more difficult.
yeah.
And I don't know, yeah, I've got some not goals around that. I've got some tentative
I think that the
thoughts.
thing, my thoughts are it's a learning curve and it's a journey. And I almost think it's like, try it and see. I mean, what's the worst
Yeah.
that can happen? It can't go that wrong, can it? I don't think so. Yeah.
No. You need to put something in place. So like every week where it's like, have I said my ideas enough?
Mm,
Yes, no. If no, why not? If yes, what happened? What have I learned, etc. If no, what were my barriers or what my limiting beliefs?
this sounds very much like journaling. I'm getting a little bit concerned.
I just yeah, it probably is. I think I don't know what my issue with journaling is because I really want to do it. But I think I get too hung up on like what it is and what it should be. I have created a monthly tracker. That's what I have done for all of the things that I want to achieve. Like,
Oh,
have I
okay.
done them this month? That's in my
That's
journal.
cool.
That's been discarded because I got upset with it.
Well,
Um,
actually, from this, then I do have one goal, which is create a bingo board.
Create
See,
a
that's the
bingo
goal.
board.
The
That is a
goal is the
goal.
bingo
See,
board.
this
There
is
you
the
go.
thing, and that's the thing. I
It's
think the goals are. I think I prefer it if I think of goals more as like actions that I've done.
yeah,
Mini mission complete.
mini
That
mission.
action for that mission is completed.
I definitely need to do that. So when I don't know what you're like, when I have a to-do list, if I have a to-do list on a different page, I will transfer one to-do list to the other one, even if I've done it so that I can cross them off because it makes me feel
Yes.
good.
Yes.
So that's like the mini mission feels the same thing of like, just do it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
Mm.
don't even talk to me about to do this. We don't. Me and to do this aren't friends. Like I'm not friends with journaling either. Um,
Oh, that's
but
brilliant.
yeah, I can't think. Oh, there's another thing for goals that I think might be helpful for some people. I haven't tested it out yet, but I think it could be helpful in terms of making your goals a reality and that
Mhm.
actioning piece, which is somebody's got a whole Instagram page dedicated to it. Um, which she's basically, I think this is the start of last year, she put into like ChatGPT or whatever what she wanted her life to look like at the end of the year.
Wow.
And then was like, give me bite-sized actions every day that I can do to make that a reality. And so then it basically has given her like a year schedule of like
Whoa,
tiny actions every day that would help her reach her goals.
that's
And so it
amazing.
did
I
get
love
me
that.
thinking. I think there is, particularly for some of the stuff where they are things we want to achieve. Um, and certainly I'm having to use it more and more for the business in terms of the stuff that isn't in my wheelhouse that we're having to do, that you have to do once you become either self-employed or do a business or whatever.
Mhm.
I think it is a really interesting and helpful way to go, I know I've got to do this thing. Is that a goal? Is it not a goal? I don't know, but I've got to do this thing. I don't know how to do it, but also I need it to be really manageable and really bite-sized and really specific. And then it gives you your action plan. So if creating goals isn't your challenge and you love creating goals, but bringing them to life and making them a reality because the action plan feels too big,
Mm.
then maybe try that. Maybe chuck your goals in
I think
over
it's
a
a really
period of
good
time.
idea.
Be like, actually, in the next 2 months,
I
tell me
feel
what I can
like
do.
it's created an instruction manual on how to get
Yeah.
there, which is great because it's literally bit by bit, step by step.
Yeah. Particularly
Love
if
that.
you also know all of that stuff about yourself, like what you're motivated by, what's important,
Yeah.
etc. You give it all of
Yeah.
that stuff, I'm sure that it will only give you helpful things back.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, that is sort of my roundup on goals, really, and my just not my roundup. Those are the things that I guess have been not bothering me. I found really interesting as I've thought about them really differently this year,
Hmm.
rather than just avoid.
I guess that though, part of that is the difference that they're your specific goals. They're not goals aligned to your job role or your work. I think that's the
Mm,
difference. Um, and I
yeah.
think that reflection piece first is almost the starting point. Reflect, define, figure out your values, what motivates you, where your strengths lie, where you get your energy from, and then figure out if the goal you thought you wanted is achievable via those things.
That feels, yes, I agree. I guess I'm just thinking for people listening, how do you break that down into, I guess three
Um,
things you could do is not go into, well, no, so you can reflect.
mm,
What's worked well for you? What hasn't worked well for you? Who are you? As what do you enjoy? What motivates you?
mhm,
What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Maybe do it in the form of an inspiration board or a bingo board or
yep.
something that feels less targeted. Maybe
Hmm.
there's a bit more about who do you want to be? What do
Yeah.
you want to feel? What do you want to be different? And then importantly, make sure you create an action plan because if not, there's just no point.
Mm,
And that action plan to begin with, it doesn't have to be a really well defined action plan, but it could just be what's one small thing I'm going to do tomorrow
hmm.
that will get me one bit closer. Because I think that's also a really helpful way, like to really break it down. What's one small action? None of them have to be big actions. They can be really small things that will help you gain
I think
traction.
the thing is, though, that action can be as small as revisit what your thoughts were yesterday.
Yeah,
As simple as, is it still aligned? Is that still what I want to do? Because that's the thing, you know.
yeah.
You have a great idea one day and then realise the next day, actually, no, I don't feel the same way that I felt about it. Um,
And for
yeah,
any goal, I think it's important to try and build it into habits. Like that's a whole other topic.
yeah.
But
Mm,
um, having read Atomic Habits earlier in 2025, that I didn't do anything with it immediately. I didn't change anything drastically, but it's helped me. I keep coming back to it and it's helping me now. And so I
mm,
think that's a recommendation, but also think about the tiny wins that you get every day that will help you move forward.
yeah,
And
definitely.
if almost stop seeing things as a pass or a fail or a, oh, I've achieved that and I haven't achieved that. Because that's the other thing, like,
Hmm.
particularly when I used to run, started running again. But when I did before, every single run I was like, well, I've got to go further, or I've got to go faster, or I've got to improve something in some way. Whereas this time, my goal isn't to match other people's times or standards or distance. My goal this time is to exercise more. Like, that is the goal. And so
Hmm.
therefore, if I go out and run and it doesn't feel as good, or I stop, or I don't run as far, I've got out for a run.
Yeah, but that's you creating a positive habit. Because the point is
Yes.
that you're running, whereas before is probably negative because it wasn't necessarily a habit. It was more of a, I don't know, competition
Yeah, it was like,
with
I
either
don't really
yourself
know
or
what
something else.
yeah, it was like
It's
a
it's
fear of
interesting
failure,
thinking,
I think.
yeah, where did it come from? Why did you want to run further or faster or whatever? Like that came from somewhere. Um, that it's not coming from that place this time. It's coming from a place of actually understanding what motivates you is actually going out and running. That then becomes the habit. So
Yeah,
therefore it becomes embedded, which is, yeah.
yeah. Where does that come from? Let's not dig too deep on that, because
No, that's
that could be a
probably
whole
a whole
other
other podcast.
be a whole other world, and I probably need a whole other load of help from somebody else.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, so your one action to help you towards to under the umbrella of goals is going to be bingo board.
Yep.
Bingo board, bingo board. Mine is, I've already done my bingo board. I will do my inspiration board, but I
Hmm.
also think for us, for transformative minds, to
Yeah.
do an inspiration board would be really, really cool.
Yeah. It
Be
will be
like our
good.
North Star.
Yeah.
So yeah. My specific action is to drop the comparisons around other people's goals and goal setting, and think about what's important to me and not what's important to everybody else.
Good. I love that, especially.
Right. Well, happy goaling, everybody.
Yeah. Good
And no
luck.
matter how you like to do it. And yeah,
And please let us know. Actually, what I want to know is what other people are doing. We've talked about the bingo board, the inspiration, all of that stuff. There's some
yeah.
really other cool ways. So please do pop something in the comment and let us know what you're doing with your goals.
Let us know. Love to
Mm.
hear. Right. I will see you next week for another week of podcasting.